All right, everyone, welcome back to the Brad and Kyle channel. And in this video, we are going to be talking about how to loft and how to play really extreme parts of the lane, lofted over the gutter, and play big amounts of hook. Stay tuned. All right, we got a giveaway for you guys. The November giveaway brought to you by Bowler Depot. 2 packages. The package I'm giving away is this brand new Supernova right here, a signed jersey, and a 1 month free to our Brad and Kyle membership. The package Kyle is giving away includes a night road, a signed jersey, and another 1 month free to the Brad and Kyle membership. So 2 months free to the Brad and Kyle membership, 2 jerseys, 2 different winners, and 2 different balls. Make sure you guys click the link below and get signed up. Good luck. All right, so before we go into any major details on like exactly how to do it, Kyle, quickly run through the reasons why we would be lofting in the first place.
Yeah, so you see guys this front part of the lane here. As a lot of games get bowled on the lane later in the day, later in blocks, this front part of the lane starts to get really beat up. And what happens is that when we're talking about basically to the arrows, and the oil starts getting depleted from that area. When the oil gets depleted from that area, your ball just wants to instantly hook, and it's really hard to get your ball down the lane and keep it on line. It just wants to check. So one way to get around this whole issue is to just throw it over it.
Yeah.
So that's essentially why we start lofting, is that our oil that's in the front part of the lane that really helps us get the ball down the lane is depleted. So we got to come up with another solution.
Yeah, and we've even seen Mike Fagan win the Masters one year, and he was lofting. He was playing really far right, close to the right gutter, and he was lofting over the front part of the lane. It was one of the few times we see people loft that much playing that straight. But it just goes to show you, like, you could loft really any part of the lane. We do see it most often because the oil in the fronts goes away. For right-handers, as you move left, generally you're moving into more oil. And then you just keep moving left into more oil, until that gutter right there gets in the way. And then once that gutter gets in the way, you got to think, well, you got to stay with that process. You got to keep going over it. So you continue to move, and then you get to play some pretty extreme angles. And Kyle's actually really good at these angles.
It's one of my favorite things to do.
It is.
When the lanes get to the part where we got to throw it over that little gutter cap there, I'm like, all right, it's on. We can do this.
Yeah, it's a skill.
So now we talked a little bit about why you need to loft. You know, the oil's getting depleted, the gutter's getting in your way. Now we're going to give you guys 3 tips on how to improve your loft game, or give you a little guidance if you've never loft before. So tip number 1 is just going to be basically a tip on how to loft the bowling balls. So the easiest way, and I talked to other pros about this and other players and coaches, and I think the easiest way to start lofting is to simply not change anything, but simply make yourself taller at the point of your release. So Brad, when you're here, if get into like a normal stance for me. So like you get to perfect. So we're here. See how Brad's nice and low. If he was going to normally throw the ball, this would be where his release point is. Now, Brad, I just want to raise you up here. Now look how much higher his release point is. All he has to do is not change a single thing, stand taller, just feel like your whole body's taller, and he's going to be releasing the ball, you know, 6 inches to a foot higher than he normally would be.
Yeah, that's a way to just naturally create some loft without having to feel like you got to throw it up in the air or do anything crazy. You actually don't change anything. You just come at the angle at a higher angle. Just to, I guess, naturally get that whatever it is amount of loft initially. That way it's just easier. You're not forcing anything.
Yeah, if you can simplify it, if you haven't loft before or you're struggling with it, just think, okay, throughout my entire approach, as I go out, I'm just standing taller, and I'm just staying taller throughout that whole approach, and especially at that point of release, and that your launch angle will just be higher off the ground.
All right, so that leads us into our next point, and it's trajectory. And when you're playing the game of loft, you know, if you get to the point where you're standing really far left and lofting, you've almost run out of options of moving and bowling ball. So it eventually becomes a game of what do you want your trajectory to be like, and what different trajectories create different angles. So the previous point, stand taller. If I was to get really low and I try to loft the ball, subconsciously it's going to make me feel like, because I'm so low and I want to get the ball up, then I'm going to have to launch it. If I stand taller, I don't feel as natural to where I have to throw it up in the air. It feels more I can just throw it in front of me. And those are basically the two different lofts that, I mean, I guess there's some extreme where you just throw it really far down the lane that proprietors don't want you to do.
Yeah.
But you could essentially come from a higher angle and then kind of throw it into the lane with some natural loft, or you could kind of throw it up in the air a little bit farther down the lane, depending on which trajectory you want to do. But the loft game and trajectory are, they go hand in hand. You have to be able to control the angle at which the ball goes up and the shape of the loft. It's just a very important aspect of it.
Yeah, I think it's important to know what trajectory, and what we figured out is that when you're lofting, if you want to loft it, if you loft it more out onto the lane, that's going to help you blend out the lane a little bit more. If you loft it up and the ball, basically the harder that ball hits the lane,
yeah,
it's going to want to grab the lane faster and get offline. So sometimes that can work if you're in a situation to where you're lofting it and you're really hitting up on it and that ball is just grabbing and going. Maybe that's working. Not saying it's bad all the time, but a lot of times we're wanting to get that trajectory out onto the lane, so it helps blend out the lane. I think another point to note is that when you're lofting a bowling ball and you're practicing this, and in a tournament, if you're struggling with it, make sure you're lofting it the same distance every time. If you're way over here where Brad's at, and you're trying to get it to land, you know, right in front of the arrows, well, let's make sure it's landing right in front of the arrows. If it's landing past the arrows, well, that's going to give your ball a completely different reaction. So when you're practicing this at home, try to get it to where your ball is landing in the same spot. Don't just feel like you're throwing it as hard as you can,
yeah,
and overpowering it. And sometimes you loft it 5 feet, sometimes you loft it 8 feet, 10 feet, so on. So trajectory, 2 types, and make sure it's landing in the same spot.
Yeah, if you want to be a skilled lofter, being able to control the shape of the loft and then how far it goes, obviously being consistent in those two things is going to be required to be a good lofter. Some of the coolest moments I've been on tour is when everybody's lofting and all the really high rev guys are throwing it really far down the lane because their ball is so responsive that they feel like they have to. And there's no oil in the front. And then you get a low rev guy like Norm or Josh Blanchard, and they actually attack it a completely different way. They don't want to launch and go this way because they naturally don't have the amount of rev rate to get it to catch. So they come at it at a more higher to low trajectory with little amounts of rev rate, and it kind of just like locks up. It's just a couple different ways you can loft, but if you want to become good at it, you're gonna have to be able to do it a couple different ways.
So you want to try a shot here, Brad?
Yeah.
So far we've talked about, you know, why we're lofting. Now this isn't necessarily a pattern that we should be lofting on that's out here, but Brad's going to focus on staying tall and getting that trajectory, being more out and not so far up.
And this is important for me because I'm a shorter guy, so lofting and small arms, lofting has been something that I've struggled with. So stand tall, that's what we're going to do. Yeah, I mean, just looking at the lane from a higher angle, it just makes you feel more confident that lofting is going to go okay. Is that going to strike? Nope.
You gonna hook?
Might hook.
A little cold.
Well, yeah, a little cold. But when you stand taller and you come at it from a higher angle, it makes you feel like you don't have to overthrow it. It makes you feel like you could just like throw it. If you're getting down and you're generating more like momentum into the slide, that's going to naturally make you feel like you have to like hit it harder or throw it harder or something.
Yeah, you noticed you said you struggled with your loft game before, but actually this last year on tour, your loft game improved a lot. I know at the Players when it was coming down the stretch, I mean you were throwing some really good shots, lofting it from the left gutter.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you focused on to get better at lofting the ball?
You know, it was easy for me to get in my normal position. It's always been easy for me to pop up at the line anyway, but when I'm lofting, that comes out extra. It's important to make sure you still land the plane. Like, you don't want to just get into a lofting point and then just get all out of balance, all just to get the ball over the fronts. If it's gonna work and you're gonna get off hits and you're gonna shoot 250s doing it, you're gonna have to land your body in a similar place. You're gonna have to get before you can get the ball going in similar places every time, this has to be similar. So don't disregard the positioning of your body. Still keep the trail leg down as much as you can. Still get in that position at the release to where you don't move a whole lot, and then go with the loft. Don't just use your whole body to make the ball go up in the air.
Yeah, essentially don't be out of control.
Don't be out of control. You still have to control all of the elements going on. That's how you create off hits.
Yeah, if you're someone that struggles, or you're not strong enough to be able to throw it, past the arrows 20 feet down the lane, that's okay. I wouldn't sacrifice being out of control to try to get more extra couple feet of loft. I would try to stay more in balance and maybe change a hand position, ball down, do something. But generally, if you're getting way out of control at the line and you're trying to loft it, we shouldn't be throwing it that much.
Yeah, you're gonna get uncontrollable outcomes. All right, so that's 3 tips from us on how you guys can get better at lofting the bowling ball. 1, being stand taller, just allow yourself to make it easier. 2, focus on the trajectories. There's a couple different ones you can use. Practice them and get used to both of them. And 3, make sure your body position is not out of control. Make sure you still land the plane correctly.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. If you want to know more about what we're doing, go to our website, bradandkyle.com. We put a lot of hard work into it. We got some giveaways going in November. We have a 30 for 30 sale for our membership. We have Black Friday stuff coming up. We have all kinds of stuff. Go to our website, check it out. We appreciate you guys watching the video, and we'll see you soon.